Cardstack community. My name is Chrissy. I'm the founding director of the Cardstack project, coming to you from the land of the Web3. Today, I'm so delighted to be joined by Tommaso, who's Blockchain Creative Labs CRO, to talk to us about the intersection of the creative endeavor and Hollywood in a general sense, and the really exciting ownership economy that we're building in the Web3 ecosystem. Welcome, Tommaso.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Very excited.
So this is a really interesting thing because like a lot of times we talk to builders who are at the kind of technology inventing new capabilities. We talk to people who are disrupting the bigger media ecosystem. I used to have a career working for a New York media education company, so I understand what does it mean to have media properties and IP assets, but also understand the excitement of being able to capture what's new. Because at the end of the day, everything is about the new frontier, hopefully supported by an ecosystem where it makes it easier for creative to reach the market. So it's really interesting intersection. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey into this particular role in this particular project and what made you excited to kind of jump into the Web3 fray?
First of all, I think you framed it so well because Web3 and entertainment are such a like a match made in heaven, basically. Such a huge opportunity, and Blockchain Creative Labs couldn't be better positioned at the center of this, right? Blockchain Creative Labs is Fox's effort, Fox Corp, entertainment company at heart, with broadcast, sports, and all sorts of different IPs. And really Web3 is the next step, and it's really a very easy place for us to start and exploring and working on with the different technologies and developing some of our own to make sure that we create the future and a better connection with our fans.
Right. So the context here is obviously you're part of a larger organization that has a certain way of doing things, but also kind of in the forefront with the kind of the invention that comes with a form that people who are adapting that form, and there's certainly people stuffing existing stuff in that form. What you're seeing the balance of it is more interest in finding new creative expression within the new creators who are imagining new possibility, or is it about like repurposing existing IPs?
I think it's very much both. I don't think you can have one without the other nowadays. What blockchain can provide us at Fox and at BCL is really so many new avenues for production, distribution, monetization of content. It's really leveling the playing field for creators and democratizing an access to Hollywood that has always been very kind of gate-kept by larger companies. So we're aware of this, right? We're not sleeping at the wheels.
Right.
So we really are conscious of this. So it's our duty as the incumbent in this industry to really explore and try to find the best way to do this. So we're doing this multiple ways. We are starting from existing IP, and I think it's important to think about the genesis of blockchain, of BCL, as a marriage between technology and the animation world. So we started thinking about this within Fox about, in 2020, about how can we really leverage this new technology with existing IP. And we were so lucky to have an amazing show on the block that was already being made with Dan Harmon, co-creator Rick and Morty, called Acropolis. And also weirdly, as we started talking to the show about this crazy idea of putting a whole Web3 strategy around it to create a better connection with the creator. And the show was super excited to have the engagement. And so this really is the marriage of what you were asking me. So like, this is an existing IP that is still being made though, right? It's still being written, still in the process of it with Web3 component. So we brought in voting. The community can vote on how the show evolves, on characters on the show. This is live, made the decisions from the community. Right. All the way up to including community members as part of the show. So some of the shows, you could be written in the show personally.
For sure.
You come in, we design you, put you on the show, and you can be national television. So it's really a new frontier.
Yeah, I can't imagine a person more appropriate for this type of meta incorporation of the ongoing thing than Dan Harmon himself, with his previous work of completely breaking the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th wall and incorporate it in a recursive way. He's our modern day Godot Escherbach, being able to like kind of like recursively incorporate the media, and he's the master in that. What is the sense? Because like I think what's interesting about it is that this idea of incorporation of community, not just as an investment I don't know, club associated with a somewhat static work. If you look at a 10K PRP, they are pretty static. Like the incorporation is kind of a leaf from it and not really core to it. As a creative enterprise that understand the creative process and understand how difficult creative people are within the creative process, what is the experience been in incorporating the Web3 community's quickiness and the I don't know, slight danger of their ideas and stuff like that into something that is considered a branded thing with some degree of like, appropriateness?
I think, first of all, great question, but I think it's important to understand that like our mission is really slightly different or recalibrating of what other projects are looking and doing, right? We don't see any of our projects as investment opportunities. Our projects are really built for the fans, right? When we sell, and again, I think about Acropolis, I think about Massinger. We can go into depth in any of these places.
Sure, absolutely.
But when I think about Acropolis, we have 10,000 fan experiences that we're selling, but we're not really. We're behind the scenes with access to things that you would have never been able to have before. The snippets and access to premieres and access to voting rights, and then I'll introduce you to the concept of how do we merge with the creators. So it's really a different portion of this. And then if you're not interested anymore in being part of the community or seeing behind the scenes that you've ever seen anymore, you're more than welcome to sell your past and whatever place where you are at that point. But it's not really an investment, a trading or something of the sort. So that's where the reality is that we're kind of casting. Fox really, and BCL wants to make this about the fans and wants to make the tent as big as possible, right? This is not purely for the DJs. This is not for the speculators. This is for the fans of the animation. This is fans for the content. Right. And, and this is shown immediately. Like we don't give any freebies. We don't do any airdrops. We don't want people to benefit from this. They benefit because they're part of the community. Right. Going to your creator concept, we managed so gracefully to integrate what the show and the creators do with the community. Hence, we host a vote, I think every month or every couple of months on. You can choose between 3 or 4 different choices. If it's like, for example, we chose the color of a lizard. That is the lizard that is delivering a message to a particular character in the show. And it's the community that decides if it's a lizard, if it's a chicken, if it's a rock. And all of these things get incorporated by the animators that then are part of the show. So that's the value that we give to the community, is being, having an opportunity to reshape the story, right?
Yeah, usually. Yeah, with big brands, the only opportunity you need to get to reshape it is if you go to a theme park of that particular experience and it's engineered in participation. And this is actually organically changing that original source and not just some derivative kind of like fan experience that is not cheapened by the fact in the trade show, but it's not real, right? This is real, right? This is part of the canon, right?
Exactly, but imagine this, like we signed up for 3 seasons. This is 3 years.
Right.
Tell me which other, this is exactly such a core concept for us. It's just like, we're investing for the long term. We're investing because we believe in the technology, we believe in the IP, we believe in the space. Like we have the minimum amount is a 3-year roadmap that we have, but it's a roadmap that is attached to real impact that you will see. The show launches in the fall, and you'll see like episode after episode after episode. Oh, I voted for this. Oh, I wanted this. Oh, I wanted that. And this is a 3-year engagement. And if everything goes well, this is going to be, if this becomes like a Simpson, this could be like a 25 or 30 years engagement that we're doing in the space, right?
Yeah. And more than 6 seasons in a movie, right?
Exactly. And this is just one of the things. But if we take it, for example, this is how we're kind of shaping the entertainment and how we want to create a bi-directional relationship with our fans. Instead of having a one-way direction where we feed you from a screen content, you consume it and you're excited, then you can go to Reddit, you can go wherever you want and blog it. Just instead, we want to create this direct relationship with the fans.
Absolutely.
And the same way we're developing this around sports. As you know, sports for Fox is a huge opportunity. It's a huge core component for us. the USFL is a spring league owned by Fox and being developed by Fox, launched last year. We're bringing it to the towns and the cities, and because of the introduction of these new tokens, team tokens, player tokens, we let the fans really be part of this, giving you access to going on the field for the kickoff, meet and greets, like all things that you don't have access to if you want to go to see the Niners or whoever else is your team of choice in the NFL. We give you the opportunity to be part of a different experience, right? But again, this is for us, it's really a way to create a relationship between, and breaking down the walls that have always been here between the big, high, Fox Studio entrance walls where you don't have access to unless you work there, and the outside world. This is like, hey, we open our gates, we're open for business, we want you to be part of this. It's a huge tent, come and have fun with us because we can't create without you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You use the word tent, right? So you can imagine when Amazon did the series with the Grand Tour, people actually got invited to the tent, right? Yep. And it was supposed to go to different countries and invite different to the tent, but the tent was logistically complicated. It's the humor doesn't. British humor doesn't play everywhere. In the tent of Web3 and the 10,000, whatever, is bigger and more global, and it's just a more appropriate form. But it's kind of similar. It's like being in the same space to be able to influence what the creator creates.
I mean, Chris, I don't know, I'm of the generation, I grew up with The Simpsons. My mom always makes fun of me because I used to watch The Simpsons 24/7. If I could have been part of that, and it would have changed my entire experience, right? So giving this to people and is such an amazing opportunity for us to do this, and such a groundbreaking portion for us. And I agree with you. Like the problem with IRL and the Grand Tour, it's just like it's different because it's logistically a nightmare. But because of blockchain, we can bring this to everybody globally. At the same time and have a level playing field with everyone that wants to participate.
So what's interesting about this, and I have another conversation with someone working in a similar area, and it was this idea of ownership as memberships, like you join something. But you said something really interesting. It's ownership as relationship. So the relationship, and then anybody who's in relationship know that the relationship grows over time. It's not a guarantee to be fruitful and become lifelong, whatever it might be, but it's an interesting human journey. We know how to build relationship with each other. What are you seeing in the fan engagement? Are you seeing people who are more engaged after they kind of buy in, or they become part of that community? Are you seeing people who go to Reddit? Are you seeing people who are like, this is not for me? What is the patterns of engagement you're seeing within that kind of broader community? Can you give us some sense of that?
Oh, I always do. I always, think about it in thirds. There's always a third of every single bucket, right? You have 1/3 that is there for the wrong reasons. They shouldn't be there. And we, we're very excited that you're participating, but not really. There's 1/3 that is like on the fence, is like, hey, is this real or not? Is this something that could be interesting for me? So that we are super excited to engage with. So we have our CMs are, to be honest, living and breathing and talking one-on-ones. And I actually engage myself a ton with some of this community, with some of these communities that actually have real questions that say, hey, how are you guys really curating this on blockchain? How are you guys doing this? Can I talk about this? How can I, participate in this? And then we have the diehard fans that are so easy and they're so excited to participate in this, and I always like to do it in thirds because we did a small meet and greet, a surprise meet and greet at the Soho House in New York around Comic-Con, and we had as a guest appearance, nobody knew, it was Dan Harmon, so we showed like a few snippets of the show for only basically 60 people, 70 people. Right. And we didn't really talk about what it was. We just say, hey, if you guys happen to be around, come over, something will happen. And then, the diehard fans were like lining up around the block to make sure because they knew something was happening. All the guys in the middle was like, oh, maybe I'm not gonna go, I'm gonna go, and they wanted more information, and then you had all the first third that were like, oh, this is not what we want to do, this is terrible, why would you ever do that? And then all of a sudden, out of there, we had exactly what we wanted, which is the fans are more engaged than before. We managed to conquer half of the 1/3 that was on the fence if they want to be part of it. Right. And then the people that shouldn't be there anywhere, they shouldn't be there. They should go do something else. We're really building for the fans and building for the guys that are excited about this,
Yeah. And I think this idea that any community that's permissionless, that there's always going to be some self-selection and the engagement. I love what you're saying about a community manager around that middle third, right? It's about converting half. Yeah. That's not a bad number, right? To have half of the people care about what you do on, I don't know, Google, social media, Facebook. That's not a number you get. You're getting 0.002% nowadays. And to get half, something.
But I know, but Chris, it's a bit, like I call it fishing with dynamite, right? Because, I mean, I don't know how many other Web3 projects have, there's a lot of other Web3 projects that has like other clouds for other reasons, and they've built from scratch their own ecosystems, which are amazing and great. We kind of started in like third base. With like a world-class show, with a world-class animation team, with a world-class technical team. So all of a sudden for us, it's just like, hey guys, if you're part of this, if you go to Comic-Con, it's going to be like, I still remember last year at Comic-Con, we had the whole building of the Omni Hotel fully wrapped up. This was like a 300-foot building, wrapped up with the characters of Acropolis, So it's a little bit like fishing with dynamite. So if you're on the fence and if you like it or not, it becomes very easy. Same thing with the USFL, same thing with the Masked Singer. If you are part of this, a fan base, it becomes very easy. Creating a fan base from scratch is a whole different experience and a whole different world that other projects have had to do,
Yeah, so obviously in the sports aspects, the in real life component become more important. Right, because sports is played in a physical space. Animation is created on computers. What do you see the in real life intersection of membership? Are there correlation there? I mean, activation is a big thing, and it's not related to tokens, and the marketers have a fun time doing with that. Are you seeing the intersection in real life activation with a Web3 ownership?
I think the democratization of the experience is exactly the same way that you see it on entertainment that for sports. There is a big wall around the sports ownership of teams, right? And you've seen this in many other interviews and other teams and other experiences. The opportunity of breaking their walls and having a sense of participation of the community within the success of the team going forward. This is always non-financial. This is not an investment. This is not what we're trying to do, but it's really about the opportunity to participate in the outcome, right? Yeah. And voting on, long term, our real vision is like, oh, you're voting on, the jerseys, you're voting on which players you can, you should participate or open or play that day of the game. So really opening up the world, which is already happening in other leagues. It's much easier again for us because we own the league, so we can actually help write some of those rules. But that's where the true opportunity lies. And I have to tell you, going back to the core of call it the more mainstream advertising business that all of these things are basically built around as well. All the advertisers are slowly coming around and understanding is like, oh, the value of a customer that just, is on the receiving end, or the value of a customer that actually participates and has voting and engagement is very different. The way that they can interact with the IP. So it's the way that we think about it. It's really about how can we apply the technology across all our potentials.
Right. And sometimes people forget how much of the development of the media ecosystem is the invention of technology, right? Invention of film and everything. Everything's about inventions. Stereo sounds is not an easy thing to do. And then when that happens, the expression grow. It's much more in lockstep than people think, because the breakthrough happens in like a moment in time, and then it kind of become culture, and you forget about the technology. So technology definitely plays a really important part, and it changes the participation, right? We went to recorded music and, kind of film as being more passive, but that was not the norm for entertainment. It was always participatory. And there was this weird period of recorded music and movie pictures that became more passive. And now with Reddit, it becomes more interactive, and they're trying to kind of maybe pendulum-wise making it more participatory. Do you see that the meaningfulness of engagement is substantially better business, or is still the mass market getting as many passive eyeballs on something, like, for example, the big leagues? What are you sensing here?
So two points I think are important to address. Number one, blockchain itself should become and will become totally a background operation, behind the scene experience that nobody should actually feel the pain that we feel right now. When
Right.
and I think that we are working towards it. Every single person is trying to work towards that, because with that we can guarantee a better experience. The drop-offs
Right.
that we see on our projects are always connected to, credit card processing, wallet processing,
Right.
like
Right.
the confusion, custodial versus non-custodial, all this type
Right.
of, ethical debates that we don't want to get into.
Yes.
So number one, and I always bring back to, like, Ryan Seacrest was, and we talk about this all the time. Ryan Seacrest on American Idol was on television, literally with a phone out, explaining people how to vote on the show and how to use the SMSs and the telephone to vote on shows, right?
Yes.
So it's at the core of Fox, the way that we want to engage with our audiences.
Right.
And we try to do the same thing with Web3 and blockchain technology. So number one, we're super early days. We have to wait for technology to come through to us to really explode and make it mainstream and go as wide as we want it to be.
Yeah.
100%. And number two, I forgot my point. What was your question again?
My question is, what is the technology as a way to incorporate into the experience?
Sorry.
Yep.
And then number two, we always talk about it in the entertainment world. I steal these words from another podcast I heard from Mark Zuckerberg. It's always like, we want to change the state of the watchers from a beta state to an alpha state, right? We want to bring them to be thinking about what they do. We want to stop, like, I don't know when is the last time that you were watching a movie or a series where you didn't have your computer, your phone, your iPad, a sandwich, and whatever you like to drink. So
Yes.
There's so many things that are stimulating your mind and your body to keep you occupied and busy. Because you literally, like, we're tired of being in this beta absorbing state of being bombarded with stuff. We just want to participate. We want to be part of it. We want to be able to grab your phone, participate, vote, do this. You know what? We want you to be so engaged, like, and to change your experience, to make sure that you keep on, that you enjoy the content, instead of just being like 20 minutes of your day that are just basically thrown away because you just turn your mind off,
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I think this whole active participation kind of go both ways. Like, you want to invite the beta watcher to become alpha players, right? Like on the other hand, we also see, especially in the last 5 years, the social media personality, the people who have, like, Instagram channel or TikTok, kind of creators or YouTube creator are starting to kind of dip into the traditional kind of creative craft and, like, making bigger thing than the 15 seconds or 20 minutes and stuff like that. Are you seeing those as creator because they have a natural understanding of that alpha participation? Oh, this comment section is going to blow up on about what I'm about to say. They're certainly aware of the kind of give and take of the alpha player. Not everybody's alpha. I'm more of a lurker. I may like and dislike, but I won't actually go and, like, write my thoughts in a comment. Are you seeing those people as good candidates for people who can be working with BCL as they kind of step into the next endeavor because they just understand that particular translation of alpha beta so well?
I mean, it's funny you bring this up. We think about the creators as really the top of the funnel, right? The funnel in terms of the quality of the content that we produce, we have to basically have as big of a funnel as possible. So, for example, at one of our companies called Bento Box, that is an animation, has started a TikTok called A Studio. A Studio is like very short clips of animation. That's where we're getting. This is all like young people that just want to get a break in animation. That's exactly where we're getting our creators from. We're getting our creators because we need to adapt to this new level of high volume of content consumption, and also incredibly impactful and meaningful. That it's very challenging to take. I think it's a lot harder to take. To make an impact on 15 seconds than on an hour movie. And you have to be so concise and precise with the message that you're bringing, with what you want to focus on. It's very difficult, and that's what people want these days. It's very, very interesting, and it's very, it's a lot more frantic. It's basically connected to our, attention span on things and how we consume everything. So it's super important for us to start from there. And this goes, not only for entertainment, this goes to news, this goes to all sorts of places,
For sure.
So that's fundamental for us.
Yeah, I think the consumption expectation and the practice of the craft, especially with the next generation of people who lived in that area, understanding is creating for that medium. The speed is definitely both in terms of the latency between the idea and the publishing, but also the actual form itself in terms of not just franticness. It's not quick cuts necessarily. The quick cuts is in support of telling that story and getting to the gist of the thing. And it's really amazing to see that form kind of create.
Yeah, it's also both ways, right? It can also be, it's either a hook, right? It's a little quick, it's a hook that drives you to read then about, neuroscience for, 3 weeks and to go in depth in an article or in a variety of studies. Or it can be like a small summarized version of something because you want to have a different, a less in-depth knowledge of it. It can really be, there's a variety of places where you can land it. But nevertheless, it's the way to go,
Yeah, and it's also the kind of repetition, serialness of the fact that if you follow a creator or you have an algorithm kind of revealing the next thing, you get to know the person, you get to know the feel that they're in, whether you're into certain types of fashion or watches or cars. If you follow creators, you get more of that, and people become experts faster than them doing research and doing the thing. So it's a pretty powerful medium for education. Do you see a potential for the type of support you're providing to creator to kind of engage his audience to create kind of a new type of creative endeavors and not just like a TV show or something like that? Are there new forms that you guys are experimenting with from the kind of not quite end product point of view, but just the organizing principle of the product?
I mean, funny you ask. We are developing a very interesting product that is very focused on creators and kind of breaking. I think that creators, especially around financing, distribution, and transparency in the media and entertainment, has always been a bit of a hocus pocus gray area. Especially, it's very difficult if you come out with a piece of content, how the rights get divided in 1,000 cuts.
Yes.
So we're actually trying to put all the rights and all the revenue streams and all these things on chain.
Yes.
We're actually trying to create an opportunity for the creators to take control of all of this. We're actually trying to create an environment where, so again, we're very lucky, and going back to Fishing with Dynamites, we rely on an awesome streaming service called Tubi. It's an AVOD business that did very well this year. And it was amazing. The ad that we did the Super Bowl was awesome. I don't know if you noted the one that you set on set on the remote control that drove everybody crazy. And so we're working close with them to create and it's the largest library in the world for streaming businesses. And so creating a small creator flywheel where the creators can come and we can guarantee basically an offtake, an immediate offtake, so an upload to a streaming service, which could be Tubi, and then be able to record all the revenues and everything else on chain. So this is a little bit, it's literally at the tip of the spear in terms of what we're trying to do in terms of breaking for the creators and developing brand new technology for this. But it's super important for us to use this and apply this in the right ways.
Absolutely. I think the revenue that is in the kind of traditional system is extremely opaque to people. People don't understand. And, I sit on the board of a company building music tech and in partnership with labels and publishing company. Just understanding who the 8 songwriters on the Beyonce songs are and who has sold their rights is a nightmare. And and by the way, nobody has the right data. Everybody is guessing and trying to clean up their data. And it's itself a nightmare, right, for the people who are doing that on a day basis and buying rights in a financial way. It's really interesting to get more people involved in that particular stream. We gotta upgrade the IT stack. There's no way we can scale the current process of 8 songwriter to 180 owners.
No, it's absolute. I completely agree with you, and that's where the biggest upgrade. I think this is one of the places where the biggest upgrades are happening. And it's just a small revolution, but it's day by day. It's basically like the super early days of streaming and how things started changing. And then the reality is that I hate to talk about this, but how we overlay all the new technologies. So blockchain itself has amazing useful use cases, but how we can overlay the next generations of items that we're working with, and then we can connect them with blockchain technology and the kind of new stacks that never existed before you can actually create right now, will actually basically give birth to a whole new set of consumptions, a whole new ways that we're doing things, a whole new ways for creators. So that's another area that we're working very actively with, but we can't talk about it yet.
I certainly understand because, obviously the wallet technology, one aspect, then needs to get better because that's the on-ramp. And, on-ramp is one thing, drop-off is another one. And right now, let's assume we have 99% drop-off, right? Like it's just the worst case scenario from a consumer analytics point of view. So hopefully that gets less worse over time. But, what excites me, I came from an IP kind of background as well, was just the idea of using blockchain for revenue distribution, right? Like for the ability to recognize rights, which is one type of data, and the ability to process the proportion of the rights, which, as you know, is done in a very black box manner. You have to trust a couple of company who has put himself on the top of the mountain and say, I am the official distributor of this right in this country. But I think the settlement capability of blockchain is certainly very valuable. But the data processing is certainly not there yet.
I'm telling you, like I got so passionate about this industry because blockchain itself could solve, real estate titling insurance issues. It can solve literally live, the IRS, we have to file our taxes is ridiculous.
Yes.
Like we should have our revenues, our salaries on chain, everything is on chain, everything is done, automated, transparent, like medical records from birth. Like we could theoretically have, like I always refer to this as my Blade Runner world, where if the applications of blockchain will simplify and streamline everything and make everything much easier. Everything will be recorded. Obviously, you have to be, you have to be okay with, the informations and where the information. But at the end of the day, the beautiful part is that we will own our own information and authorize, the medical system to access all my information since the moment I was born, which is incredible. Absolutely. Or real estate, and do seamless transactions and settlement transactions between parties. What we have seen also. I don't want to diverge too much in things, but what we have seen this awesome rally in the cryptocurrencies at the same time that we have a banking industry, a ton of issues banking, but it's for the obvious reasons, right?
It's counter programming, right? Like if you wanted, like if you don't believe in that and you worry about that, what are you excited about? This is the alternative, right? And it's that narrative catch on again. It caught on once in 2008, which created Bitcoin, and it's catching on again.
So it's a super exciting. It's ups and downs. I think it's the whole, if I could put a wrapper around all my ideas and all my concept, it all comes down to the right set of regulation to let this technology really thrive and go towards the future, right? With the right set of regulations, we are bound. We're so lucky because we have a legal team that reviews everything that we do, so that we don't do anything. We don't do anything that could ever possibly be potentially interpreted in the wrong way. But you've seen it. There's tons of projects out there that don't have the same luxury as we have, right?
Oh, they're winging it.
Exactly. And this is expensive. Like, just so you know, like what we go through, it's so expensive, but it's because we want to stay on the right side with the right set of regulation. This industry is just going to take off and never stop,
Yeah, and I think there's a real tool set that we can bring into the blockchain, and then the regulations of like, okay, helping creators who made the thing share the revenue is one set of law. Helping people who are passively participating and kind of benefiting from a financial base of like betting on an artist, that's a different set of law. But if you have a community member who's actively trying to create, which law do you apply, right? So there are interesting boundaries between these things that requires creative interpretation, and I hope the regulator around the world, especially in the US, because we are the top on the line in terms of the creative industry, and I don't want us to be lagging too much behind in clarity of how to bring this creative endeavor to the Web3 age. And it will be real sad for us to miss the opportunity of defining that intersection between ownership and creation.
I think I don't want to go into geopolitics because it's not really my place. But I think that we will benefit from the fact that the US wants to stay at the forefront in this, and it becomes such a quote unquote world domination race. So hopefully, I think that over the next 12 to 24 months we'll get the clarity that we need, and the teams I think are being built in the right places, and I think that our government and our we'll definitely do what it's needed to do to make sure that we get this done right, because it's really important. It's going to be a huge catalyst of growth, huge catalyst of economic prosperity. It's a huge catalyst all over across many industries. So I think that we're on track for that.
Absolutely. And I think the regulators or the politicians in DC, they're desperate for real stories of how this will actually help people and help the citizens and help the creative pursuit and help the industry. So far, they haven't been hearing that, right? Like, as much as their understanding of technology is not particularly deep, but it's hard to not look at FTX and look at all these other things that happened in the last boom and be a little bit sour about it and understand that you maybe don't want to be aligned with it, or you may want to be more of a adult figure within this kind of childish play and mess that was created. But if people like yourself and your community and your organization can create concrete use cases, like, look at how cool this is. Look at how concrete and how much engagement and how much commerce and how much new value being created. Hey, this is based on this technology. Here's how we should discuss regulating it. I think those anecdotes, those stories, and those kind of like things are really missing in DC. I think the people who are lobbying in DC is essentially saying, there's a new technology, let us do what we want to do and don't pay attention. And that's not credible enough. If someone say this is a real use case, there's this subtlety, I think that there will be a different type of engagement.
It's just a coupling of everything in one bucket, right? They're putting blockchain technology, they're putting cryptocurrencies, they're putting Web3, everything is one wrapper, one bucket.
Yeah, right,
and then you just need one drop to poison the well.
Oh, for sure.
And that's, and in this case, what we have seen over the past months is a tragedy for the industry. But it also super helpful because to me is a cry for help. It's basically the industry shouting and crying for help to the regulator. Regulate us, give us the framework in which you want us to work. Give us our sandbox and let us go build our sandcastles within your sandbox, and it's totally fine. And we'll show you how amazing this is. And also make sure that some people don't take advantage of the systems that are currently in place. We that's the one thing that we want as much as possible. Like, regulate us as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and then regulate by clearly define what is good, what is bad, what is allowed, not allowed, and that type of kind of rules really creates creativity, right? The technology of creative craft is, you only have this paint color, what can you make? You only have this marble, what you chisel? And that's where the most interesting works are. And then we really need clear constraints about what we can do and how we can engage. Obviously, as a technologist, I look at the blockchains, I can do pretty much everything. But it will be good for us to have successful alignment of, what is permitted, how you want to engage it, and the human psychology align. To something more than gambling, right? Like, so gambling is fun and it always will work, but it's always kind of, empty calories. Let's do something real.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. I like your optimism. It's very hard to be optimistic about the regulatory landscape in this time of year.
Well, that's because everybody's thinking about it with their pockets. Like, I don't think about it with my pockets. I think about it from the facts. I think about the opportunity that I can create with the communities, I don't want to it's not, you can do Forex trading. If you want to speculate and gamble, you can gamble on the, US dollars against the euro every day of the week. You don't have to gamble on NFT projects, right?
Right.
You can gamble on anything that you want, but that's a different world. I don't care. I want the NFTs and all that stuff to be just as regulated as Forex, and just as simple as that, and I think that as soon, there's nothing better than the IRS understanding that every single wallet that tracks everything and everything is transparent. So I can't hide everything. I pay all my taxes. I do everything that I need to do. And guess what? You can check, not because I have to fill it manually or an accountant is helping me do it, because it's on chain and it's written. You see my transactions, you see what I paid in fees, and I can't hide anywhere.
Yeah.
And
people don't hide. And if you file your taxes using kind of crypto software that looks at your wallet, I mean, you can pay that service. IRS can do the same thing and just looking at the same addresses.
We work with it. We work because we are fully regulated, as you can imagine. We are a publicly listed trading company. We work with those softwares that track every single microtransactions that we do. We prepare the filing. We send it to the because that's the way it should be. That's the way
absolutely.
it has to be, right? And that's it. If I'm a European, I'm very comfortable and very aware of what happens to economies when they don't pay for taxes. So like it's not the place where you want to be. It benefits a few for only a certain amount of time, and then it comes back to you anyway.
Exactly. And the transparency really just make people trust the machinery. They know that, oh, I'm getting paid this thing, I am owing that. Okay, fine. Everybody knows. And that awareness that, things are on chain and things are transparent, I think actually lead to good behavior because, even the traders know if you do something really shady, someone's got to call you out on crypto Twitter, right? Because they would just do an investigation. And the truth is that the punishment is quite rapid. Like if you look at the bust and boom cycle, it's not like Bernie Madoff. It didn't take 12 years. It took 12 months, right? Like the speed of the data really does tell people, hey, maybe you want to be an organization that is, more, complying with regulation because they last longer than the people who take advantage of the thing because the truth's on chain.
The truth is on chain. And it's funny, yesterday we have our bi-weekly all hands, and every quarter, and we just kicked off our quarterly regulation review with the whole team and policies on insider trading and all those things that normal people would never do on stocks and forex and everything else. We kicked this off to make sure everybody's aware of what's out there, what's happening, what are the risks, what are the rewards, and making sure that you understand that this is just everything like everything else. You have to play by the rules, and you can't speed on the highway because you get a ticket. If you want to speed, you might get a ticket. So if you get a ticket, you have to be okay with that. If you go to jail because you're insider trading, you have to be okay with that. Because there are rules and you have to respect them.
And people that understand that NFT can apply to insider trading. So like people need to understand, like, don't do with these kind of digital assets something you wouldn't do with a, kind of a more traditional financial asset. And that's really great education. And it comes from, I think partially one of the reasons I'm excited when company really make efforts, not like, let's do a token or let's do an NFT collection, but really, really invest time to understand it is because there is really great cross-pollination about people inventing the thing, but they're maybe too early in the career to really understand the risk of anything. Like, they don't understand insider trading at all, right? They haven't really been through that type of thing, and where they have material information in an acquisition and stuff like that, right? So it's a healthy conversation, and I hope that your effort permeates to the Web3 community, not only ways to engage with IP that it probably matters, but also learn what that future amalgamation of those two things is going to be, because everything in media and everything in creative craft is a reinvention. And we need something from the past to invent things in the future. Marvel is a good example, right? Like you just need something, and it's that constant reinvention is really what drives culture forward. I
cannot agree more with you.
Well, thank you so much. This was a very enlightening conversation. I think we touched on a lot of things. I like when I touch on things you can't talk about, because that means that there's more to talk about and more to keep track of. So if people are interested in the work you guys are doing at the Blockchain Creative Lab, how do they follow you?
Well, like everybody, we have our Twitter, Blockchain Creative Labs, Scrapopolis, Matt Singer, USFL fans. We have a whole slew of things that you can track us and follow us. National television, you can start with that too. But
for those who have TVs.
I feel like everybody has TVs. They just
on your phone, right?
Yeah. So there's a variety of ways, but we're super excited I'm super excited because I'm a fan of animation about these Scrapopolis shows coming out this fall, actually. Get involved, come and vote, come and meet. We'll have some amazing stuff coming down the pipeline. Get written in the show, and if you're a fan of it, just like come and meet the cast and come and meet us.
It's so amazing to have the opportunity to engage with someone making the thing. The most amazing thing in the Web3 industry is that you can just walk up to Vitalik, who invented Ethereum, at a conference and talk to him. I'm sure something similar is Comic-Con, but with more security, right?
Yeah.
but the form is converging and that access is available. Maybe it requires to be token gated and you have to be part of the community and show that you really care about it. But that opportunity to co-create is, at the end of the day, what the creative pursuit prior to the 20th century is all about. And I think we're bringing it back a bit at a time with first century or 22nd century technology. So excited to have a glimpse of that future with you.
Totally. Thank you so much, Chris, for having me.
Thank you so much for your time and attention. And as always, the community, we do these and talk to builders and people in the trenches who are actually finding ways to make this real, something visceral, something that is beyond the promise that actually put into practice. And it's delightful to have these conversations. Thank you, Tommaso, for your information. And as always, keep track of this on YouTube and the other podcast channel. Until next time, take care. Thank you.